Welcome back to 808 Bows. My name is Alana Hankins, and this is for all teenagers girls, directly towards ages 15 through 18. The goal of my vlog is to let teenagers know that losing your virginity and having sex is not a must in high school. Also, Hollywood definition of beauty, attraction, and popularity in high school should not define you. I hope teenagers will realize how the media has shaped virginity loss and gender role at an early stage of life. My concern in Hollywood movies is the misrepresentation of gender role and misrepresentation of sexual orientation of females. First, I would like to introduce the Carpenter 3 approaches to sexual first, which is virginity of gift, stigma, and natural step. These three have different meaning of virginity. The first one, virginity of gift, is a valuable aspect if the self only be shared with a worthy recipient. Being in love or in a committed relationship and giving your virginity to someone who is also a virgin would reciprocate the gift is especially valued. Gifters tend to frequently discuss and engage in use of contraception and STI prevention. As for virginity of stigma, this group tends to believe that virginity was a shameful condition and need to be rid of as soon as possible. Many of these people in this group do not take the time to plan out their first sexual experience and engage in casual sex. This group tends to decrease the likelihood of engaging behaviors to reduce risk of pregnancy and STIs. Lastly, virgin of natural step is the process of becoming from adolescence to adulthood, one of many firsts. This is viewed as something that happens to nearly everyone at some point in their lives. They are similar to virginity of gift with respect to safer sex practice. In Hollywood films, I find there is a misrepresentation of gender role, under misrepresentation of color, misrepresentation of sexual orientation, emphasis on female attractiveness and sexuality, and misconception about frequency of sex. These stereotypes are damaging and harmful to teenagers who are exploring their sexuality for the first time because there is a set definition in the media of how they represent teenagers in high school. I will be focusing on misrepresentation of gender role and misrepresentation of sexual orientation. For gender role, females are portrayed less masculine. They are expected to be accommodating and emotional. The films that I have watched, the extracurricular activities for females are not too physical at all. Females are not seen to play a sport. Instead, they are studious and are part of some sort of music club. This causes damages for someone is first exploring their sexuality because it puts a limit to activities they believe they could do. For misrepresentation for sexual orientation, in my opinion, there is an expectation of how we perceive people when they identify themselves. For instance, objectification for women is when a male sees a woman for her physical appearances, for their sexual desire. This would most likely contribute to mental health problems that disproportionately affect women, like eating disorders and depression. The three films I would like to call attention to the patterns is American Pie, Clueless, and The Spectacular Now. American Pie is about the senior boys in high school whose goal is to lose their virginity in prom. And Clueless focuses on a life of shears. She finds her purpose in helping a student Ty to achieve popularity, and she even helps two teachers find love. Though her aim was to increase her grades, there was still a good deed. She has her ups and downs. She wasn't quite focused on passing her geometry test because she does not pick up the fact that the boy she likes is actually gay. At the end, it took her a while, first year, to realize that she is in love with her stepbrother. Lastly, The Spectacular Now is about Shutter's life, who is a popular boy in high school who breaks up with his girlfriend and meets an introverted girl named Amy. As Shutter deals with the problem of his life, and Amy plans a future beyond school. An unexpected romance blossoms between them. A CNN article shows a video demonstrating how does a girl run. They asked kids at the age of 11 to 14 years old versus 10 years old and younger. The older kids ran as if they didn't know how to run properly, and the younger kids ran normally. This just shows how the media is portraying girls for their physical abilities. All of the films, the females are not involved in physical activities. In American Pie, the character Heather is seen as a good girl and is part of the choir at her school. For Clueless, all the female characters refuse to hit the tennis ball during physical education class by making excuses. Instead, all the girls want to look good all the time by not having to mess up their face and hair in high school. In the movie Spectacular Now, the character Amy is seen as a geek girl who is socially awkward in high school. She does not play any sports but is a smart girl in her classes. This movie didn't show any extracurricular activities, but another gender stereotype. According to USA Today, researchers found that once girls hit puberty, they are vulnerable and in need of protection to preserve their sexual and reproductive health. For example, Amy and Stutter is in bed facing each other. She nervously and awkwardly asks, "Should we take our shirts off?" "You go first." "Promise you won't laugh." This shows how vulnerable she is in bed. As for misrepresentation of sexual orientation, there is a form of woman's sexual objectification. According to my research, Emma Roney says that this occurs when a woman's body parts, or sexual function are isolated from her whole and complex being and treated as objects simply to be looked at, convicted, or touched. This is directly equated to physical appearances. In all the movies, the female body types is really slim and petite. The popular girls are seen as beautiful, attractive looking on the outside with their hair, face done, and wearing cute clothes. Mostly what I've seen is them wearing dresses or skirts, whereas unpopular females dress in comfortable clothing and come to school with a natural face look. In American Pie, Jim has his eyes on Nadia because he thinks she is attractive. When she asks if she can come over to study and change, Jim decides to hide a camera in his room and intended to send the live video to his close friends, but it ended up sending it to the whole school. This is an issue with Nadia because she has no idea nor consent for this, and because Nadia has a beautiful body which gets boys interested in watching her change. As for Clueless, Cher was walking in the school hallway looking all nice for school, then a guy comes up and wraps his hands around her without consent. She quickly shoves the guy away. Lastly, in Spectacular Now, Shutter X was a popular girl who is beautiful and dresses nice, but on the other hand, Amy is considered a geek girl who is exactly the opposite. She's just dressed comfortably and looks natural. Although there was some misrepresentation, we do have realistic scenes. For instance, in the Spectacular Now movie, a realistic scene is when Amy pulls out a condom before having sex with Sutter because she wanted to have safe sex. As for American Pie, a realistic scene is when Chris decides on wanting to spend quality time with Heather instead of just wanting to have sex with her because he got feelings towards her. At the end of the movie, he was open about his intentions at first, which was to have sex, but he later found out that he wanted something more meaningful in the relationship. In Clueless, the character Ty, who became popular, decides to change her representation by not caring how she looked at the end and ended up with Travis, who was seen as uncool to hang out with the popular kids. She ended up with Travis because in the beginning they naturally was vibing with each other before Ty became popular. I hope I was able to help teens understand that films are not representing real life, especially when it comes down to gender role and sexual orientation. My advice is do not let social media or any kind of media influence your decision nor define you. Thank you for watching 88 Bows, and have a nice day. See you next time.